Hi, it's Crazy Mama Kelly coming at you from my part of PA. Well, as you can see, I dyed my hair and it's a catastrophe. I tried to do that splat, um, fire ombre or whatever. This stuff. What I did was I bleached my hair because they say you're supposed to bleach it a pale blonde, so I bleached a pale blonde. Well, obviously I'm blonde to begin with, so when the pale blonde goes, it's like really goes. So I did that. Then I separated it. I put a couple streaks. I tried to put streaks in it instead of doing the whole head. Maybe that's where I screwed up. I didn't do the whole head. But the red turned into hot pink. And the lighter red turned into orange. So, yeah. I wouldn't recommend this unless you're really dark haired. I can't. Yeah, I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. Anyways, so the mission is new hair color. Definitely new hair color. So when you see me next, I will probably be this color. Try to cover up this. So I know if I wait a couple weeks, it will fade out because it's not permanent color, but I'm just not, yeah, I'm not feeling it at all. Well, anyways, wish me luck. But anyways, I have a story for you. Yes, I do. I know, my lovelies. It's been forever. But I finally got a story for you. It's about Pennsylvania, and it's a good old-fashioned ghost story. And it's out of this. It's not the big blue book of it's not the big book of everything, but it's this one. I don't know if you can read it. Pennsylvania Ghost Stories, the big book on Pennsylvania ghost stories. I got this at my the Historical Society in Ridgeway here. They got a lot of cool books in their little old Historical Society, and you learn a lot about where I live from the Historical Society and surrounding areas. So if you're interested in history and everything, I really recommend going down there. And the people that run it are awesome, sweet people. I know them. They're related to me. Ka-ching, I know I'm throwing it out there, but they are. They're awesome. Please do not be distracted by the mess of my hair that it is. Okay, well, anyways. This was actually, I've used Splat before, and I never had really bad time with it, but this did not work out like I wanted it to at all. This was because my patron saint is Saint Bridget, and I was kind of moved to maybe like put a little red in my hair to represent her, you know what I mean, as a dedication to her. She's my patron saint. I really dig her. She's Saint Bridget of Kildare, Ireland. You read up on her. She's really cool. Well, anyways, this story I'm going to tell you about is Pennsylvania's first ghostly tale. And it took place in Montgomery County. And it happened in about 1738. Okay? This is really old. This is first documented ghost story in Pennsylvania. Okay, and according to Charles J. Adams III, Montgomery County, from this story they got is from the Montgomery County Ghost Stories. A little girl in Pennsylvania, her name was Susanna Reimer, witnessed the first known haunting in the nation. Susanna's father, Friedrich Reimer, immigrated from Ireland or Germany in 1730, and then went to live in, settle in Montgomery County. Reimers were respected church-going folk, and it didn't stop the spirit from showing up to young Susanna. It was mid-August on 1738, and Susanna and her sister Elizabeth were doing the chores when Susanna noticed a tall man with a long mustache sitting on a log in the front yard. The man seemed to be upset, and paid no attention to the girls. Okay? So, at first, Susanna didn't think anything about it. For a moment, the man, you know, she thought he was just a regular Joe, just sitting there. But when she pointed him out to Elizabeth, Elizabeth couldn't see it. Elizabeth was her older sister. Elizabeth couldn't see him. And if, anybody research ghost stories or whatever, they say the young usually can see ghosts and specters and spirits more than human older people can. But because they're innocent and they're closer to God, because they're innocent and they're not tainted with, rationality and everything. They don't think rationally. They still have imagination. They still have the freshness of being new or whatever. Okay, so but so Elizabeth couldn't see the man despite the fact that he was obvious to her sister. So she just brushed it off and walked past her and murmured something. She was mad. She's like, whatever, my sister's being weird. Okay. Susanna looked at her sister and then back at the man, but he vanished. So when he vanished, okay, then she began wondering if, it was just a figment of imagination, if she was, whatever, just imagining things. Later that day, when Susanna was walking down the road past the neighbor's home, she spotted the man again. Okay. He was standing near a hired hand working in a field. And then no one seemed to pay any attention to the man. In fact, no one even seemed aware of his presence, except Susanna, because she could see him. Susanna watched the man walk away into the wheat field, and I guess when she walked away in the wheat field, the wheat must have been high enough where, when you walk in grass or anything, it waves, and stuff like that. Well, when this guy was walking past in the field, nothing was waving. It wasn't moving, it wasn't waving, it wasn't nothing. It wasn't even making a movement at all. Like, there was nobody in there. Okay, keep on freaking out about my hair. Okay, well, that just unnerved her, and she was still clinging to the idea that it was optical illusion, that she was imagining things. So, she said next time she sees him, if she sees him again, she's going to find out for real if it was, flesh and blood man. She's going to find out. She's going to make sure. And she was destined to meet him again because she did see him again. But this time when she seen him the next time, he was actually standing on a thatched roof of a building, ripping at the thatching. You know what I mean? And but every time he ripped, like to rip the thatching off, she seen it rip, but then there was no holes in the roof. There was no holes in the thatching or anything. And then I guess he disappeared. And then, the man did not seem to notice Susanna, I guess. Then she ran back as fast as she could to get her sister Elizabeth. Elizabeth was teenager to confirm that she's seeing this, that she's actually seeing this. You know what I mean? By this time, Elizabeth knows that something's going on with her sister, so she goes back. And then when Susanna looked around, he wasn't on the roof now. He was standing in the doorway of a shed. Okay. Okay, so Susanna said, well, why don't you ask him what he wants? Why don't you talk to him, see if you can talk to him, see what's going on, what he wants. So Susanna did say something to him. She's like, and the man was shocked because all this time he's been waiting and nobody's seen him. But he's seen her, but she's seen him, so he was happy and relieved about it. So he started to confess. This ghost talked to her, and he started to confess to her, like, he was shocked that she could see. He says he's, when he was talking, it was like he was inside a pipe. It was, his voice was really loud. That's what they said in the article, the news article here. He says he needs help to be released. She's like, released from what? Released from whatever. And then he proceeded to tell Susanna that he couldn't leave this plane and go on to the next because he owed a debt. And he had an unpaid debt, and he couldn't go without it being paid. And he owed this debt to Steinman. That's all he said was named Steinman. And he confided that he could appear for only short periods of time also, and only to certain people. and Susanna noticed that the man's voice was growing a little bit fainter all the time. Finally, Susanna offered to help him to help, and the man told her that he owed the woman, Steinman, 50 guildens. Susanna duly repeated all this to her sister, and the older girl listened and told Susanna to tell him that they would do all they can to help him. Okay, and this is pretty good. So then the man seemed to relax a little bit, and he said he had to go back home. And Susanna says, "You got to return to your home. Where's your home?" And when one man pointed towards a little cemetery down near the creek, and Susanna knew that this was the Zebra family cemetery, and she watched the man walk towards it and disappear. Okay, so the girls hurried home, confessed all that they knew about this to their father, and their father actually believed. They thought it was going to be hard for him to believe, but actually he did believe him, because he agreed to look for the Steimer woman and pay her so that he could find peace. Okay, Frederick Reimer accompanied the girls to the cemetery, and Susanna showed her father the grave where the man had disappeared. It was simply marked Miller. Okay. So her dad went with her to the cemetery, her and her sister's cemetery, and the thing simply said Miller on it, okay? And I guess he had been a hired hand for the Zebra family for several years and was skilled at roof thatching. So that's why he was on the roof ripping at the roof. The family looked into the story, and a bunch of tales started unfolding. It was pretty interesting. The Millers found his widow. The Reamers found Miller's widow, and they talked, and she confirmed that her husband had asked to borrow money from a woman named Steinman. However, she was under the impression that Mrs. Steinman had not loaned her husband any money. In fact, Mrs. Steinman said that the two had quarreled, and her husband claimed that Mrs. Steinman had cursed him. Okay, so then they went through some more research, and they found in August of 1733, the British brig Hope had docked in Philadelphia. Okay, and on board were several people named Miller, as well as Catherine and Hans Steinman. Perhaps the Millers and the Steinmans had first met on the ship. Okay, and the story of the strange haunting over the unpaid debt became quite famous. It was written up. It was widely published about this. Mrs. Steinman, however, never did come forward. Oh, sorry about my hair. Mrs. Steinman never did come forward, and so the debt could never be repaid. So that was pretty weird, and no one ever saw Mr. Miller again. And tragically, this is pretty sad. Tragically, Frederick Reimer, the little girl's father, was found froze to death on his own farm. How it happened will forever remain a mystery, they say, but locals believe that he met his demise at the hands of Miller, who was angered that his debt had never been repaid. So that's pretty weird. There's a bunch of books. I recommend this book because there's a bunch of cool stories in there. There's a bunch about Valley Forge, Gettysburg, tons of Gettysburg, Philadelphia. The only thing I do have qualms about is I wish there's not too many up our way, up where I live, because maybe mine wasn't. I don't think Ridgeway came into whatever till the 1880. I think that's when we were established. So that might be the reason why there's we weren't established in a town or out county seat until later on. So we weren't settled till later. But I really think that would be cool if anybody could find stories around Ridgeway. The only one I know for sure is Oakmont Cemetery, and I did find one in the. I'm a member of the Historical Society. I try to be involved in happenings around Ridgeway, whatever. So I know that we have I know there has to be some ghost stories around here. And there's a couple actually houses that are haunted. When it's nicer and if I have time, I'll take you down and show you the houses. If I have permission to be filming them. I don't know. I might have permission or whatever. That's all for my Crazy Mama McKelly story for this week or this month or whatever. I'm going to try to do more frequently, but whatever. That's what it is. So I hope everybody's well. I hope everybody's doing great. And I hope you enjoy the video. So remember, the Reimer Ghost story from Montgomery County. My idea is that Susanna was, like I said, young, because the young are impressionable and they can see spirits a lot more than we can. Or else there might be a little bit of psychicism in the family. And I think it's interesting how her father believed the whole story, and I think it's really sad and tragic how he froze to death. That's really sad. But hopefully, the spirits all involved in this situation are, rest in peace. But blessed be, take care, peace out, whatever. I'm gonna fix my hair. So bye. All right, peace. Bye.